The inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. One of the distinctive characteristics of modern societies is the commitment to planning. Whether it is a global corporation, an entrepreneur, or a public body, comprehensive or strategic planning is essential. Planning is the best way to be intentional, to try to channel the economic and social forces that are at work at any one time, rather than be buffeted about. Kenton County is in the midst of developing a new comprehensive plan, its first since 1972, entitled Direction 2030, Your Voice, Your Choice. The process has been underway for about 18 months, and next Thursday night, the statement of goals and objectives will be presented publicly. I am joined this morning by Sharmili Reddy, the planning manager for the Northern Kentucky Area Planning Commission, and Diane Brown, a member of the Planning Task Force and also the Planning Commission, an attorney by background. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you.
So you've been working on this for a while. What's in that, Diane, let's begin with you. What's in the name, your voice, your choice? I mean, the Direction 2030, okay, I can't get that, sort of sets a horizon, but your choice, your voice.
It really comes down to making sure that the public knows this is their county. This is their county plan. This is how we make their neighborhoods and where they live better. So it kind of gives that overview that it is their voice, it is their choice. What input have they given? What advice are they giving to planners, to commission members, to their city council? Planning is somewhat of a trickle-down effect. So we start with the comprehensive plan and we work our way down to local city councils and local neighborhoods.
So this is something over these past months that you've been working on this. There's already been a lot of people who have had input, and we're going to talk about the website any number of times, and you can see a lot of that written input in that situation. But there's been lots of chance for people to have input here, right?
Yes, we have held
over 70 meetings, some in public settings, some with small groups, some with cities. Yes, we've done a varied section of meetings for this effort.
Sharmili, why now? I mean, 1972, 40 plus years ago. Why not 10 years ago? Why not 5 years from now? Why now?
Dan, there are a couple things that have happened in the last decade or so that I think has a huge impact on our community. We're seeing our demographics changing. About 26% of our population right now is millennials, which is the younger generation. About 25% are the baby boomers, which the entire nation is...
Pointed to me, didn't you? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Is focusing on that segment of the population. So we have a huge segment of the population that desires something a little bit different. That's a big thing. The second one is that we've just been through a huge recession with the rest of the country. And so the policies that work for a community 40 years ago has changed. We've got to change based on, how we've been affected by the recession. So there's several factors like these that have, caused us to start thinking about how do we look at our community a little bit differently.
How can a community, looking at some of those big social factors like the demographic changes, the onset of the baby boomers retiring, going past 65, this is huge numbers that we're talking about. 26% are millennials, that's really big number too. How does that change policy? What sorts of things do you look at that might, that drives, and how do you respond to that? How does the government look at that?
I think we find communities look at it and need to look at it as, are we meeting the needs of those people? Are we providing for areas of developers to come in and put housing that addresses the needs of an aging population who don't want to move to nursing homes anymore? They want to stay in their home, they want to stay in their community. Are we addressing areas to put in recreational facilities that millennials want to be outdoors and are green conscious and will attract the younger generation who will also stay for jobs that they find? Because younger generation, we're finding with the millennials, will come because they like the place and then they will find a job. So we need to find that balance then on, are there areas in the community that already exist, in the geography that already exist in Kenton County, where we can put in some of those that will help attract developers to then come in and build what will keep people happy.
So there's this real link between some things like green space, active green space, passive green space, and economic development, because you have to have those millennials who are going to come and work.
Absolutely have to have both.
Yeah, so it's some of this stuff which I think sometimes people compartmentalize, that parks are off over here, green space off over here, ecology's off over here, don't connect it to the economic development part of the plan. How does a plan like this respond to the change in the situation of the airport, which has been a driver in northern Kentucky for 35 plus years, and now is in a different situation? I mean, it's been dehubbed, and it looks different than it would have. Its future looks different, and therefore lots of things in northern Kentucky look different. How do you take that into account in a plan like this?
The plan in itself, Dan, is supposed to be broad. So it covers, a broad range of issues, including economic development and how certain factors in the community affect economic development. But we are required per state statute to update this plan every 5 years. So we definitely take into account things like, changes in the economy, what has happened with the airport, what is the economic impact of that on our communities. And we've talked about that, in the context of the plan, and how can we support the airport in terms of the community. It's not so much about, we're planners, and our role is more on the community and building end of things. So how can we as the community support an economic engine like the airport? So we talk about factors like that with the community and sort of, have those conversations so we can understand those implications.
So does this plan, it's not just, am I picking this up right? It's not just about what government should do, but what all the entities in the community, in this particular case defined as Kenton County, what they might do as they look forward and move forward.
Absolutely, and that's why I think during this entire process we've had a technical task force which included all the local agencies that we thought would have some role in moving this plan forward. And I think our goal for this plan is definitely to find a way to implement some of the goals and objectives that we're looking at, and not just have it one of those that sits on the shelf. So we've had a lot of input from all the public agencies, local organizations, the community as a whole, just about anybody that would talk to us, we talk to.
One of the entities in northern Kentucky that I've been fascinated by for a long time is what's now called Vision 2015. Is that the date on that now? It's been changed over the years. 2015, which works not in any one county, but works regionally, and for the past 5 years or so has been working very collaboratively with Agenda 360 on the north side of the river. Here you're working on a plan that is county focused. How does this sort of regional perspective get related to the county focus? How do those two things work? Are you cooperating with Vision 2015? How does all that work?
Absolutely. I think they pair together and blend together very well. Kenton County is a large portion of that region, and we have unique issues with our 18 to 20 different jurisdictions within Kenton County itself, but blend into the region. And what's good for the county is good for the region, and so that's part of how we look at it. We've had members from Vision 2015 on our task force as well, so that we make sure that their goals and objectives are addressed through some of our goals and objectives, that those are pairing and not counterintuitive to each other. And again, it's boiling it back down to where do our citizens and where do their visions and their goals, it is a vision 2030. It's where do we hope and dream we can take the county in making it better in the future. And so by finding that match and that pair, we're getting to that.
One of the things that just what you're saying here, and you said something before, that you update the plan, by statute you update the plan every 5 years. So what's the 40-year change here? Why, we're saying 1972, but you have, by law, you have to update your plan every 5 years. So what's big about this one? What's different about this one?
The first element of a comprehensive plan that we work on is called the goals and objectives. So these are the overarching vision kind of statements that we come up with based on community input, and then the rest of the plan is all based on those goals and objectives. So what we've had for 40 years are those goals and objectives.
So
We've
you've
never
had the
touched
same
those.
goals and objectives even though you've tweaked the plan over the years. Okay.
Exactly.
So what you're going to do, what you're reporting out on Thursday night, is the goals and objectives, which is sort of the controlling statements for what's going to be worked on every 5 years for whatever.
Exactly, and the goals and objectives are basically the foundation for the rest of the plan. So that's why they're pretty important that we get it right.
Okay. Diane, I want to pick up on something you sort of casually said. Those of us who may not live in Kenton County may not remember this, but you used 20 jurisdictions, 18 cities.
Yes.
We have done Newsmakers about this in the past year because there are a lot of people looking at that whole question. Does a plan like this address the question of governmental collaboration, even the question of whether governmental structure in Kenton County is the right structure to have at any one point?
It does not look into the structure. It does not look into changing any of the governmental structure that exists in Kenton County. It is not a government governing body, which I know sounds strange. This is not looking in and telling governments what they need to do.
Okay.
It is providing them some guidelines to enhance what they're able to do for their citizens and for businesses. So while it is overarching, and it does address how do we remove some of the regulations that may be causing businesses to not come in or causing recreational facilities to have some difficulties. Can we reach some regional overarching for a park system, for example? But it does not actually tell any government or any citizen what they have to do with their property, what they have to do with their laws that currently exist. I think we have a wonderful opportunity in the diversity we have in the 18 jurisdictions. I'm from the city of Erlanger. We have 12 city council members. We approach this question frequently. Is 12 too many? It provides so many voices to give you perspectives on issues, though. And so I love our 12. I love our 18 to 20 jurisdictions in the county. And no, this does not address reducing that, changing that in any way.
One of the fascinating parts of the website, and we're going to tell people how to find the website in a bit, that I read through all of the comments that are on there about the various, and are there 10 goals and objectives at this point?
Yes.
Okay, 10 goals and objectives, and people have been able to online make comments about that. One of the real sort of driving themes is sort of why should government tell people to be doing anything? You know, free market ought to operate, whether it's about lot sizes, whether it's about development in different parts of the county, land development, whether it's about green space, people opposed to green space, people opposed to bicycles, development, all of that. What does that tell you? I mean, when you see those comments, what's around this question of the role of the plan and the role of government? How do you react to that? How do you think about that in big terms?
We have really tried to stress the fact that this plan is about everybody that lives in the county. And we've definitely gotten some very diverse perspectives on certain issues, and our community has a lot of pride in where they live and, you know, the lifestyle and the values, and we definitely want to make sure that we address all of those values. There are people that, you know, are happy with the way things are and, you know, like where they live, but there are people that we want to draw to the area as well. So we're trying to address, I think, all of those components. And again, it's about representing all of those diverse viewpoints. So
and I think it's really exciting to see people comfortable coming to the public events that we're having and giving that input and knowing that they're involved and understanding then that this trickles down. You know, goals and objectives starts very high, very overview, and that's going to trickle down to the Planning Commission, which is going to trickle down then to your local city, who are local officials that you've elected. And if you don't like something that's going on in your local neighborhood, you need to go to your Board of Adjustments. You need to go to your city council. You need to come then to Planning Commission events, and that just keeps you involved, and it keeps you respecting what's important to you and making sure other people know that that's important.
You know, a thing, you know, we talk about plans. I think a lot of times people think plans are attempts to control the future. And that's why I said at the beginning, it might try to channel forces. I mean, change is going to happen outside the bounds and the visions of what the plan happens, because having grown up in Kenton County and having in 1968 driven the bookmobile into rural Kenton County, I mean, southern Kenton County was still agricultural, rural, sparsely developed. It has completely been transformed in the last 40 years. And I don't know that anybody exactly saw that happening. A plan didn't tell them how to do that. Things are just going to happen, right?
They are, and they are. But I think as a community, we have a chance to at least express what we want, is how we want this to change to a certain extent. And that's what I think this process is about.
Well, I think it's important that people get to the meeting on Thursday night, get to the website. Let me make sure people know how to do that. I know it's already been up quickly, but if you'd like to participate in the process of finalizing the goals of Kenton County's comprehensive plan, Direction 2030, your voice, your choice. Meeting will be held Thursday, June the 6th at 6:15. It'll be held at the Northern Kentucky Area Planning Commission on Royal Drive in Fort Mitchell. And the information on the plan and the process, check out the website at direction2030.org. Thank you for being with us this morning. Welcome back. The Children's Theater of Cincinnati is one of the great community organizations in our region. And one of the things that here at Channel 12 we do is we inflict occasionally Bob Herzog and John Gum on the Children's Theater, and they take those two off our hands and keep them occupied and out of trouble. But this morning I am joined by Angela Powell-Walker, who is the artistic director, leader of the Children's Theater, who grew up in Cincinnati, has been away, but has now been back for 2 seasons. Welcome to Newsmakers. It's really wonderful to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So my understanding is you went to SCPA?
I'm a graduate of the School for Creative and Performing Arts, and I, not that long ago, you know, a couple of moons ago, and since then I've gone on and become a professional opera singer and made my route all the way back to Cincinnati.
When you say a professional opera singer, what's the life of a professional opera singer? I mean, literally going from performance to performance? Performance
to performance. I've performed worldwide. I've sung at the Metropolitan Opera. I've sung at Houston Grand. I've sung with the Cincinnati Opera, Dayton Opera, all over the world. As a recitalist within operas and shows and things like that. I did my graduate work at Maryland University and my undergraduate work at Oberlin Conservatory. So what then brings you back to the Children's Theater?
Besides it's in Cincinnati, and maybe you want to come back to Cincinnati, but what brings you to the Children's Theater?
Well, that performing arts connection, really. Jack Loiseau was the former artistic director of the Children's Theater of Cincinnati, and he was my mentor growing up, and he's always followed my career along the way. And even though I was a professional opera singer, I stayed in the world of musical theater and kept dipping my toes over there, you know, even though they rival each other sometimes. One music's better than the other music, but I disagree. I think it's all theater and wonderful. And as a result, Jack said, you know, I'm retiring, and I think this would be a great job for you, and you can come home and be with your family and put all of your assets that you have in one place. So would you consider doing this? And after having 3 kids and tired of traveling so much, I said, you know, this is really my first love, so I think I'll come back to it. And that's what got me back here. Okay.
Well, Jack Loiseau, unbelievable person who has done so much for generations, literally, of children in this community, and who are now adults and affected them. So what is it, though, about the Children's Theater? All of those things, coming home, all those things, following Jack Loiseau, I can understand all that. But what is it that excites you about the Children's Theater? Because if people don't have young children who they're taking to the Children's Theater performance, they may not know what it is.
Correct.
Why is this an important institution in our community?
Well, for several reasons. One, because we do affect the generations of adults that come along in the world. We are their first experience to the arts, and we really work to make our mission happen, which is to educate, enlighten, and entertain the youth of the greater Cincinnati area. But it's not just the youth, it's the youth at heart as well. So as they grow up,
Bob and John.
There's Bob and John, right? Youth at heart. But we're their first experience to theater, so sometimes, you know, we create the future theater goers, but we also create the future presidents and the future CEOs of companies in the future, and we give them the ability to have poise and confidence and all these things that you can learn through the arts. There's nothing greater. This is why I took this job, honestly. There is nothing greater than when you watch those kids leave the Taft Theater from one of our main stage productions, and that spark that's lit within each and every one of them, whatever that spark is, it is lit. And then they go into the world and they do, and they become, and they create, and they're just great. And I'm directly responsible for that, and how amazing of a job is that? You can't beat it.
So you've been back for 2 seasons.
This is my 2nd season, yes.
In those 2 seasons, what's been your favorite? I know it's always about what's on stage. I mean, it has to be. So what's been your favorite performances the past couple of seasons?
Well, we did a production of Rapunzel, Rapunzel, A Very Hairy Fairy Tale, which was fabulous, and we had this huge 19-foot dragon on stage, and it was actually one of the first shows that I actually directed with the Children's Theater, and it was just amazing to watch it all come together and just, again, see the kids in the audience and the families. We're creating family experiences there that came and saw the show. But I have to say my favorite all-time show, and it's not just because of my Channel 12, but Bob Herzog and John Gum as the Heat Miser and Snow Miser in Santa's Toy Factory was just priceless. You can't beat it. But yeah, so that was it.
As you look forward to the next season, now you're responsible for choosing the,
Correct.
oh, I'm sure you got staff and all those sorts of things. What are you looking forward to? What do you think is in this next season is going to be really important?
Well, I guess I'm a little biased. I think our next whole season coming up is fabulous at the Taft. We're starting with Annie Jr., and then we'll be doing The Day Before Christmas, which I'm actually looking forward to because it's a new show. It's being written by Ken Jones and his team. And then we're doing Pinkalicious, which is also... It's a phenomenon right now. That book series of Pinkalicious, Purplicious, and is huge. And in the theater world, that show is just taking off. So I'm very excited to see what that'll bring to the Children's Theater. And our final show is one of my favorite shows in the world because I love Gene Wilder. But we're doing Willy Wonka Jr. But what's amazing about the Children's Theater is we don't just have things at the main stage. We also have 2 other parts of us, and one of those would be our Learning the Craft division, where we teach the arts, musical theater training. We have a STAR program that's part of our Learning the Craft division that's taking place this summer at NKU, where we have over 80 kids that come in and learn every aspect of the theater.
And are those 80 children already selected?
They're already selected for this season.
For this summer?
Yeah. We audition. It's an audition-based program, so they can come in January and audition for us each year for this STAR program. And it's exciting. At the end of the 5-week intensive musical theater training program, they do a review, but this year we're also doing a festival of one-act plays. And the last head of the Children's Theater of Cincinnati is our Art Reach division, where we tour the shows into the community. So people that can't come to the Taft, we're coming to them.
And one of those is City of Immigrants that you've been touring, which I have focused a couple of programs on. It is absolutely a wonderful program that and in that particular case, and I think probably, I'm a theater person, I love theater, it's not just for people, I mean, it's obviously for children. It's obvious for children and their parents, grandparents, but it also could be just for people who want to come and enjoy theater too, right? Anybody can come to this. You don't have to be a child.
Anybody can come to any of our anything that we offer. You do not have to be a kid. You just have to have an open mind and want to be entertained and want to be enlightened in some way. It's just when you go to the theater, you go to the theater for an experience, and we provide that experience just as much as anywhere else. It's nice because our shows are only an hour long, so you can then go off and do something else. so it's economical with your time, but it's a wonderful experience for everyone.
Well, I'm really pleased that you're back in town.
Thank you.
Building another component of our theater community here, which is a wonderful community, and going to make sure that people know how to get in touch and know about children's theater. But I look forward to having you back on sometime maybe in this next season and reinforce something you shouldn't do.
Definitely.
Are you going to have Bob and John back in?
No, I can't tell you. It's a secret.
Oh, gosh. My sympathies. Thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Join us again next week to meet the women and the men shaping our community for the future. Have a good week.